I've always been a very shy girl, always by myself. Occasionally, I was the type that would drink alone in her room and wouldn't go out often. The thought of social interaction just got to me, and I never understood why. There was no trauma or anything bad that happened to me early on in life. I had great parents. I grew up in a nice neighborhood, went to very nice schools. So, like I said, I never understood why I was like this. But what I did know was that I had an alcohol problem, and it needed to be addressed sooner rather than later. At this point of my life, it was pretty much the same. Days blended in together. I had a job and I would go in for work. After that, I would just watch TV, eat some food, and drink. Wake up and repeat it all over again. Every day, the same. You know, it sounds pretty boring and terrible, but after a while, you kind of grow numb and used to it, that you don't even notice it. But every now and then, I would get a little spark in my soul that would just let me know how badly I longed for more. Almost like a little reminder, a flame slowly diminishing within me, but I could tell it was still in there, deep in the voids of my soul. Well, that all changed one day when I met the love of my life, or so I thought. You see, it all started one night when my parents came over to visit. They had visited other times, but this night in particular, I didn't know they were coming, so I didn't have time to clean up, prepare anything, or hide any of the bottles I had on the floor. To say the least, my apartment was a huge mess, especially for my parents' standards. And once they walked in and saw it all, it was a huge shock to them. They asked all sort of questions, like, why had it gotten this bad? How? And since when did I start drinking? I try to play it off like it wasn't a big deal, like it was normal for people around my age, and that I was an adult now, and to not worry, nothing was wrong with me. But they could smell bullshit very easily, and my parents knew me, or the prior me. They knew this wasn't normal for me, and how happy I used to be. I had it written all over my face, and they could tell. It was a very long night after this. Let's just say, this turned from a visit to an intervention. And it sort of worked, because in this conversation, we talked about a lot of things, and one of those things was that I should stop eating ramen, because essentially, that's all I ever ate. And if it wasn't ramen, it was just microwavable frozen meals. They suggested that I take cooking classes at my local college, and that it would teach me to cook for myself, but not only that, it would bring more structure to my life and give me something to do rather than just watch TV and drink all day. So, I gave it a shot. My parents usually weren't wrong, and I trusted them. And it did work, until I met him. It was just simply love at first sight. I met him at the cooking class, and everything about him was everything I ever wanted. It was his eyes that drew me in first. They had almost a cat-like sharpness to them, yet mysterious. It started off with a simple hello and some small talk in my class. Eventually, we found ourselves being partners for most of the projects that we had to cook. And then, as things progressed, We ended up dating, and a few months went by. Everything was great at first, but then, you know that mysterious thing I told you about? I soon started finding out why there was this mysterious aura behind him. Specifically, those damn eyes of his. At first, it wasn't that bad. He would every now and then suggest that we do something that was against my morals and that I had known was always wrong. Like, maybe steal this for me, or let's sneak into here. No one will know. Small little petty things like that. And I would always be against it until I locked eyes with those damn eyes of his. I even noticed strange things, like whenever we would get into fights, a glaze would go over those eyes, and it wasn't his tone that would scare me, or anything he said. It was only when I looked into his eyes that fear would strike me, all the way into the deepest, darkest depths of my soul. It was a fear like nothing I had ever felt before, something so powerful that it completely would make me freeze and unable to move or speak, but just simply listen to whatever he had to say about whatever we were fighting about. But this all changed one night, whenever we were on a date, out in downtown. It was pretty late, and we were on our way home, and that's when he asked me to do something so unthinkable, so unimaginable, that just simply thinking about it now makes me want to vomit. In the middle of the night, next to a park, we saw a man just sitting on a bench all by himself. He asked me so casually if I'd be willing to do something so horrific I can't even repeat it. And obviously, I said no. But the moment I looked into his eyes, I saw almost this little tiny vibration in them. I couldn't quite explain it, but for a brief moment, I contemplated it. But then I looked away. It was pure evil, what I saw in those eyes, and I'll never forget it, because moments after that, I opened the door, got out of the car, and ran the complete and opposite direction of where the man was sitting. I ran and ran until I couldn't run anymore, but I knew I was heading towards my apartment. I did look back once, but I wish I hadn't, because when I looked back, all I could see was him just standing there, looking towards my direction. And what's worse is that I couldn't make out any features of him except those eyes piercing through me from such a long distance away. Like the whites in his eyes were radiating so far into my soul. After this, I never did go back to those cooking classes, and luckily, I never saw him again.